have to do a Muay Thai training later, and let's see what time it is now. Two almost 2:30. Yeah, this is my work hours usually, so that's why I'm not usually live streaming at this time. Um, and that's why my class won't be until this evening. So, uh, I should have time. So, I was supposed to do this yesterday and I didn't get to it because I was busy. So, I'm going to do it now early because I might do another stream later, pending the time I get back from the my Muay Thai training. So, um, who won the debates, guys? That's the question. Who won the debate? That is the question. Of course, I'm gonna give my own opinion. I'll probably have to give it 3 or 4 times because there's no one here now, so they won't know what I've said now. So I'll have to say it again later. That's fine. What I don't feel like doing is regurgitating something I said when people were actually hearing me. That kind of sucks. But um, oh, thanks for whoever gave the thumbs up. But yeah, as far as my opinion, I don't think there was a clear winner. Maybe if some of you think there was, you could tell me why. But I, I don't see a clear winner. The only ones that seemed to declare winners were what's up, letter B. I think the only ones who declared winners of the debate Tuesday were people who were already entrenched on their sides. So all the right leaning news outlets declared Trump the winner. All the left leaning news outlets declared um, Kamala the winner. I didn't see a clear winner. Plus, I saw some things that I found uh, maybe a little problematic about the way they ran this debate as as opposed to the way they did the past one. So, I, I saw them fact checking. I saw them fact checking Trump, but they didn't fact check Harris on anything. Like, yes, we know Trump is going to lie, but all politicians lie. She was lying, and they just gave her like I think they just gave her like a free pass. Um, for one, she blamed Trump. What's up, Jackson? For one, she blamed Trump for the misinformation about COVID-19, saying that he was suppressing the information coming that China was involved in the origins of the pandemic. No, he wasn't. They were mad at him for saying that he was over blaming them for it. Um, uh oh, Flutter B Jackson's asking you, what did you mean about Trump being terrible? But yeah, so if anything, he might have been causing too much of a skirmish when it came to China. When it came to the origins of China, he called it. I mean, people don't remember him making jokes saying it was the calling the Kung Fu virus. Like he never denied it came from China. So I don't know where Harris got that bold and lie. Plus, it was her administration, not the Trump administration, that's been recently checked for misinformation on COVID and for suppressing dissenting views on it on social media. Mark Zuckerberg himself came out, what, 2, 3 weeks ago, saying that they told him to suppress information that dissented from what they were putting out about the pandemic. It happened on YouTube. If you were on YouTube and you posted something that went against what the government was putting out, you would have saw your videos demonetized. You could have been paused for a few days, as the Hill did on Rising did on Hill TV. Um, some people were deplatformed completely. Um, the news YouTube channel uh, that talks about China, they got severely demonetized during that era for putting out accurate information because they challenged the notion that the origins of the flu came from a wet market in Wuhan, China, as opposed to a lab leak, because there's a Wuhan research lab there, which just so happened to have been funded through the NIH under Anthony Fauci for gain of function research, which is illegal here in the US. And so, originally, for 2 years, he even denied that they ever funded the Wuhan lab. When it came out that they had been funding the research in the Wuhan lab, then he denied it was gain of function research and tried to change the definition of gain of function research to prove that they never funded it. But according to Harris, it was Trump that was suppressing information that the origins of the virus came from China. And they never fact checked her on that. And they were so big to get on, you know, Trump's criminality and his culpability in the January 6th riots and in the election denial and all this sort of stuff. But they never led into Harris being culpable in the Democrats suppressing that Biden is suffering from mental decline, cognitive decline. No one challenged her on that. They didn't allow Trump to challenge her on that, and there was no fact checking done on that side of things. Only on his side of things, but never on her side of things. That should have been a huge question asked: is why did she think it was okay to suppress information on his cognitive decline for several years? I mean, it's obvious from people in the medical expert field that he looks like he's having some sort of neurodegenerative problem, probably with Parkinson's or something. Let me get to the comments. Um, Oli says Trump was pitiful with all the lies. Yeah, he lied, so did she. The difference was they only fact checked him, they didn't fact check her. Jackson says, bro, you guys are blind. Okay. Lemon Line says Trump 2024, just my opinion. That's fine. That's your opinion. That's fine. I'll support. I mean, if someone says Trump 2024, if someone says Harris 2024, that's fine. If someone wants to say Jill Stein 2024, fine with me. People should already know where I stand from my previous videos and previous live streams. Uh, Arnell's asking football teams. I have no. I'm not a. I'm not a sports person. Can't answer that one. Mike Burton says, "Hello, man. Hope you're well." Thanks, Mike. I'm doing well. Millie, Mr. Willie Fistergash says, "Nope." Um, Well, he says Trump got his butt whipped by the VP. Did he really though? Again, like I said, I think the only people declaring winners here were the people who already were dug down on their sides. I didn't see a clear winner in this debate. For one, it got boring towards the end. Like I struggled to stay up to watch the end. Luckily, I watched it through YouTube where I could pause and rewind. So um, even though it was live, like they allow you when you're streaming, when you're being streamed in real time, you can still pause and rewind. So I love that feature because I would not have made it through without it. And if anything, they shouldn't have been fact checking at all. At least to CNN's credit, when they hosted the first debate between Biden and Trump, I think it was done better. Like the 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 moderators didn't try to fact check either candidate. All they made sure is that questions were answered and the person got to be able to respond. And they could go on to the next questions. I think that was a better way to do it. But to have them fact check it, I didn't like it because they were only fact checking on Trump. If they were going to do it that way, then they should have also had a moderator that was sympathetic to a conservative view who could have also fact checked Harris, which they didn't do. And this is why Trump always says ABC News sucks. Leo says Buffalo has won like 11 out of 12 or something like that. Cool. Flutterby says Trump is a joke that likes to strut around all powerful and is laughed at by the world, so good luck. Um, is he though? You say he was laughed at by the world, but he admitted something on the debates, which now confirms that it was true because I've seen someone else talk about it. They say he was laughed at by the world, but do you remember when he saw the leader of the Taliban and told him, "I don't want to see any attacks in Afghanistan," handed him a picture of his house with his family, and the guy was like, "Well, what is this?" He's like, "I'll let you decide." For 18 months, there were no attacks in Afghanistan because he knew that that picture that Trump had was of he and his family at his own personal home, and at any time Trump would have did a drone attack right there and completely annihilated him and his family if he so much had caused one attack. So you can say he's weak, but 18 months without attacks is significant, especially for someone in the military. That could be your entire tour, that 18 months of deployment, or 2 months of deployment, depending on your tour. But 18 months without any single attacks by the Taliban after he threatened that man with a drone strike to his home. Yeah, he's not the laughing stock of the world. he There are Western leaders that don't like him. I completely agree with that, but I think I think it's a little bit of exaggeration to say he's the laughing stock of the world. A little bit. Whereas there are some leaders who are hoping Harris gets elected, not for good reasons, but for the reasons that they think that they'll be able to finesse a Democratic president. I mean, throughout the throughout American history, we've had more Republican presidents than Democratic presidents in the 20th century, and they've usually been better at foreign policy than our Democratic presidents. Um, Jackson says, in my opinion, Harris could do a lot of things right now because she's vice president, but has she done anything? No, she hasn't. I kind of agree. That's another thing. That's another thing they threw a softball at her with that as well. Like if you're talking about all these things you want to do Why aren't any of these things being done as VP? Now, if people say, well, just because she's vice presidents don't have that much sway in the administration. Dick Cheney did. Dick Cheney had a lot of sway in the Bush administration. I mean, there were people skeptically saying that he was really the one running the Bush administration, not Bush himself. So yes, a vice president can have significant leverage within that administration. So I kind of agree with Jackson there. Like all these things she wants to do, why hasn't she trying to do these things so far? If anything, she was like kind of pushed out of the limelight for a long while because she she was not seen as a she was not taken seriously, even by the mainstream media at the time, who now fawn over her adoringly. Uh, Willow's Gardening and Outdoor Adventure says Trump was literally 3-on-1. He was the only one that was fact checked. It was one sided. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I was just stating. Mary Undura Not says, how come you haven't started your homework yet? I'm not even sure what that means. Lemon Lime says, actually, I've seen comments from people around the world saying they want Trump to win. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, guys. It's definitely a mixed bag. Like, you're only partisan if you think it's only one way or the other. Someone like me, who's an independent, I am a Trump supporter, but I'm an independent and I'm also a classical liberal. I can see things from all sides. So that's why I was saying I haven't seen a decisive winner in the debate Tuesday. Like I said, only I think the only people who've seen a decisive win on either side are already partisan. So Ali says when Trump was POTUS, he didn't do SHIT. He didn't. Let's see. He did prison reform. He gave money to HBCUs. He kept the Taliban from attacking in Afghanistan for 18 months. He gave us the vaccine for the COVID 19. Um, the economy was doing significantly better up until the pandemic. So that's just patently false. See, I wish people with their political opinions would just be honest and say, hey, I don't like this person. Instead of just saying, this person never did anything. Just say, you know what? This person may have done significant things in office, but I just don't like him. Or I don't like his policies. That would be honest. Leo says Trump is what 78 and so much slower and emotional than in 2016. He's totally regressing mentally. Is he though? I mean, you guys got to get your lies straight. First, he's mentally regressing. Now he's always lying. Like I joked in the gym yesterday with my friends, to be able to lie and finesse takes mental sharpness. So if a person's always lying and trying to finesse, that means they're mentally sharp. People who are in cognitive decline don't have the ability to finesse and lie. Leo says next to Biden he looks great, but next to a normal cognitive person he doesn't. Well, in all in all fairness, let's see how you shape out at 78 years old. Hope you're working out and staying fit. Ali says when your own people talk about you negatively, how can you support him when you don't know him like they do? Okay. Which 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 person are we talking about again? I'm sorry. Dan Jr. says he's a Drake fan. Chat about what? Yeah, you're fucking retarded. And yeah, I said it. No one mentioned any musician. Obviously, I'm Generation X, and I couldn't give two shits about any recent rapper right now. In any way, they all suck. I listen to Biggie on my Spotify. Someone must have told you something wrong. Job says they should fact check. What are you saying? They didn't do that in the CNN debate. Job. That's what I'm saying. It's not the moderator's job to fact check. The moderator's job is to moderate the debate. Fact checking is not a role of the moderators. They chose to do that in this one. And again, I wouldn't have had a problem if they decided to do fact checking if it went both ways, but it did not. They did not fact check her on her lies. They didn't. When Trump mentioned her father as a professor of econ, being a Marxist econ professor, like, and she denied that stuff. Like, okay, fact checker. When she claimed that Trump was the one suppressing information that the origins of the pandemic came from China, that should have been immediately fact checked because they were the ones doing that. They were the ones recently in the news being confronted about that for their lying and misinformation and handling of COVID-19 under the Biden administration. The fact that they were telling social media platforms like this very one we're talking on right now to not allow people to put dissenting views out there. They even went so far to said Facebook was killing people with misinformation and basically use leverage like this the section 230 that protects social media platforms from being liable for what their people say on their platforms. They threaten to remove that as a way as a leverage to keep Mark Zuckerberg and others in line and suppressing information that dissented the views coming from the government on that sort of stuff. But somehow it was Trump that denied the origins of the pandemic from China when he was one of the very people saying it came from China. He said that multiple times. He even made some crude jokes about it, calling it the Kung Flu virus, which a lot of people hated, but I'm sorry, that shit was funny. He never, they didn't fact check her. They didn't fact check her on that. Nor did they get into, again, the fact that she and the rest of the Biden administration hid the fact that the president was suffering severe cognitive decline until it became apparent in the last debate 2 months ago. So, if you want to say they should fact check, fine, but they should have been done it. It should have been done for both candidates, not just against Trump. That was an obvious bias, and I'm sorry. Even if I was Team Blue, I would have still saw that as a bias. If anything, then they should have brought in a conservative moderator so they can also fact check Harris, but they didn't. Ali says white dudes for Harris. Good for you. Willow's Garden says they're eating the cats, the pets. My friend confirmed it. Oh yeah, they're definitely eating the cats. But what turned out not to be true? It wasn't a Haitian. Now there are immigrants out there in Ohio hunting wildlife and maybe pets as well. I seen them walking around with like things like geese and stuff like that. And there was a police that actually came to respond to an incident when the woman ate the fucking cat. Uh, that's disgusting. And it's not just because it's a pet, but I'm pretty sure a cat is not tasty. And that's not, and you know what I mean, so don't try to twist that. Um, but yeah. What Trump actually got wrong was he was talking about dogs, and it was mostly, I think, cats, like that were being eaten, as well as, like I said, as well as like ducks and geese, stuff like that. But yeah, it's actually happening, and they let her get away with saying that wasn't happening. instead of just fact checking him on what type of animals and who and what people were actually responsible, they just decided to make it like it was complete falsehood, and it's not. We have video footage of it. We have police footage of it, of people being questioned and arrested for this. Now, I don't care about wildlife so much as you doing it in a safe manner that doesn't harm other people. So, for instance, here in Maryland, this is bow and arrow hunting season, so there's open. You can openly, and within Baltimore County, and I think the city as well, but within Baltimore County, you can openly bow and arrow hunt deer because they are now because there's so much because so much housing is taking up so much of their wildlife habitat. They're everywhere, and they're becoming a public nuisance. So they're allowing people to take up bow and arrow and hunt deer. I don't have a problem with that. Just like I wouldn't have a problem with people hunting duck or geese. It's when you, it's when you hunt people's pets that's a problem. And I don't care what sort of pet it is. If someone has a pet pig, you shouldn't be killing their pet pig. If they have a pet cat, you shouldn't be hunting their pet cat. That's my view on it. Leo says they should have done it for both, but I feel like they only called out outrageous claims, right? What's up, realistic FPS? He says have the questions Kamala didn't even answer as well. Oh, half. I'm sorry, half the questions. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they neither one of them were answering the questions as well as they should. They were basically just doing like textbook debate tactics where you score a point on the other person by smearing them and redirecting, but whatever. Um, Dan, if you're not going to contribute to the conversation, you can see your way into another live stream. We're not talking about rappers. I don't give a fuck about new school rappers now. I'm 46. I don't give a fuck about hip hop. Like, grow the fuck up or join another fucking live stream. Turn that Dan Jr. into a Dan Senior. Do some push ups and get the bitch out of you. Anyway, Job says, bro, he did not do that. That's a lie that you believe because they didn't fact check it. Realistic FBS says she also refused to talk about the economy. Leo says also a huge part of those months were under Biden as well. Mm. Davis says, are you an island boy? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? No, I'm foundational black American. Schmuck. Anyway, Job says, check that, buddy. Check whether or not there were attacks. Okay. Realistic FBS says she dodged the question about the embarrassing Afghanistan pullout as well. Yeah, there should have been so much more on that, but at least Trump called it out. There's like 7 people I'm talking to, David. You see the fucking chat room, you fucking moron. Realistic FBS says Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. Leo says, David, he's addressing comments, just delayed on it. Job says they started every meaningless war overseas. Well, I mean, what is a meaningful war? What is a meaningless war? You'll have to define that for me. If you're referring to the wars in the Middle East for the past 20 plus years, yeah, they've been pretty fruitless and meaningless. However, many people have died because of them. Uh, we've been in the Afghanistan war again for it was we pulled out in what 2021, right? 20 we've been there for like 20 years. they only had a functioning government because we were stationed there for 20 years, fighting their fights they couldn't do themselves. So I actually that was one of the few things I actually agree with Biden on was that pulling out troops out of there. It was it was it was a sunk cost. It was a sunk cost fallacy to keep our troops there. And the last two presidents wanted to pull the both Trump and Obama wanted to pull our troops from Afghanistan. They just never saw a, a good logistic way in doing so. Biden was just like, that's one of the few things I will give him credit on. When someone does something I agree with, I'm gonna say they did something I agree with, what I thought was correct, regardless of who the person was. Miss Needle says at Realistic FPS, isn't it always the same choice of choosing the lesser evil though? I mean, when it comes to politics, there's there's no perfect candidates. It's not like TV. It's not like comic books. Um, we don't we have to work with flawed individuals. Like even the people whom we idolize now were seen as severely flawed back in their days. We may idolize people like Abraham Lincoln. We might idolize people um, like FDR and George Washington. These were severely flawed people. Kennedy, Reagan, like these were severely flawed politicians, both then and now. But I mean, we have a habit of idolizing these folks way after the fact, in hindsight, when none of them, all of our candidates are flawed and always have been. Whether we're talking about presidents, prime ministers, kings, chieftains, sheiks, whatever. The difference is we have more access to information about our candidates than we ever did in the past. So it was easy to put our candidates on a pedestal in the days prior to the internet, or prior to when we had a free press. So choosing a candidate, I think, has always been a matter of choosing lesser evil, so to speak, just because people are flawed, and there's I don't know anyone who isn't flawed. What matters is choosing the people who's going to represent your interests, whose policies will be in your best interest. I think that's the best you can hope for. But I think I think having the need to deify a candidate is wrongheaded. We shouldn't have to feel like we must like this person in order to vote for them. I think we just have to make pragmatic choices and say, this person is good for my wallet. This person isn't. This person will keep the country from going to war. This person won't. This person will protect my neighborhood. This person won't. So I think we gotta look at it from a pragmatic point of view when it comes to politics. Ms. Nia says, gotta stop trusting in men, aka aka human, plural, not males. They will turn in the wind. Realistic FBS says, not when that lesser evil has no idea what she's doing. I agree. She's a buffoon. I just don't like her. See, that's how you're honest. See how I did that? It's not hard, guys. Just say, hey, I just don't like that person. Can she run the White House? Yes. Can she probably do a good job? Mm, likely yes. Do I want her to do that job? No. Do I like her? No. Do I think she represents my interests? No. That's you can just be honest, just like that. Realistic FPS says she's got less than 1% in 2020. There's a reason for that. Yeah, she was clearly unlikable by the majority of people. Like realistic FPS, she didn't even win her own state, a state in which she was the senator, and prior to that, the attorney general and a DA. And she couldn't even win that state. Andrew Yang came out of who had no previous background in politics, beat her for California back in 2020. She was the first one to drop out of the Democratic primary at that time because she was so unlikable, and also because Tulsi Gabbard completely thrashed her when it came to her record as a prosecutor. Job says he gave us the vaccine. He did. So I'm going to rewind to 2021, late 2020, for those who don't remember, because there's going to be people who think I don't know what I'm talking about when I said Trump gave us the vaccine. He did give us the vaccine. And here's how people can remember it. When the vaccine first came out under Trump, it was all the Democrats and liberals saying, "I'm not going to take that vaccine because I don't trust it." I clearly remember that stuff. The vaccine first came out when Trump was still in office, and a whole bunch of liberals, progressives, and and people on the Democratic side were saying, "I'm not taking that vaccine because I don't trust it. I don't trust Trump." Then, as soon as Biden gets into office, those same vaccines that came out of these same pharmaceutical companies were then people were saying, "Oh, well, we got to take these to to protect the country and to protect people who have pre-existing health conditions and yada yada yada, and to keep from getting severe COVID." Yes, the vaccine came out under Trump. Biden himself said that. He said, "I have to give props to Trump." I'm paraphrasing here, of course, but he said, "I have to give Trump praise to Trump for doing for letting the NIH and all those other folks do what they needed to do to get a vaccine out to for the for the country." Pro- Biden himself praised Trump for that, and Trump, with you know with due grace, acknowledged it and said, "Thank you for giving me that praise," because people don't remember, like you, Jobbington, who are just you're just being partisan right now. That yes, the vaccine originally came out under Trump, and a lot of people didn't trust it just by virtue of the fact that Trump was still in office when the vaccine came out, even though it's not like he's a like he's a virologist who came up with the vaccine. It was people under our government scientists that did the work. It just happened under his administration because he gave them the go ahead to fast track getting those vaccines approved through the FDA. Anyway, Miss Needle says at FPS, "That's what I mean. No real options. I'm curious to see how it will turn out in the end." Realistic says, "Yeah, I wish more people would have voted for Kennedy." Job says, "Bro, if you were being honest, you wouldn't lie about accomplishments. You'd say he didn't do much, but you still like him." Again, I put my like and dislikes aside. I'm being pragmatic. Again, the fact of the matter is he did have accomplishments. Just like I can acknowledge Biden had accomplishments. But to pretend neither one of them did is being partisan. And that's my problem with people who are partisan like you, Job. Because I'm an independent, I don't suck the dick of any political party like you do. independent independent voters are smarter because we don't choose based on partisan politics. We actually think through the issues and policies. Yes, Trump did accomplish things. Again, he kept the Taliban from not attacking for 18 months when he threatened the leader of the Taliban that he would blow up his fucking house when he showed him a picture of it. He spoke to them in person. This wasn't like this wasn't like a phone call or something done over FaceTime. They met with the leaders. Again, the economy was doing way better. Food was much more fucking affordable back then up until the pandemic hit. The economy was better. Again, he was like one of the first presidents I know to have given money to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. He also did prison reform. And his like I said, his tax cuts benefited the middle class at the time. So we can we can we can play this partisan game, but again, I'm not partisan because I'm not Republican and I'm not Democrat. I'm independent. Job says he's not sharp when he's lying so blatantly that we can all see it. Like, are you thick? No, I'm not thick, and I don't have to write in all caps to make a point. Leo says I wouldn't be running for president. Laughing my butt off. I'm not an egomaniac. Trump isn't working out or staying fit. So the point is, you're blaming a 78-year-old man for how he functions. Again, let's see how you are when you are 78. Then you can talk. I do find it now. If you want to say it's problematic that we have severely old people running for office, then I will agree with you. We have this. We have a geriatric leadership, and I do find that completely problematic. So if people wanted to find another candidate just because they want someone who's younger in office, then I can go with that. I can understand that. Jeffrey Michael says I'm white. Can I stay? What does that even mean? He said mentally handicapped is the right term. I'm not using euphemisms. First of all, none of you motherfuckers have taken psychology. Clinical retardation is still an actual term still used when referring to intelligence. Intelligence falls under a normal distribution curve or a Gaussian curve. Mostly everyone falls in the middle, the the bell curve, right? That's the average or the normal distribution between 85. Most people fall in within 85 to 105. Below 85, well, 85 and thereabout is called borderline retardation. Beyond that, you have three levels of cognitive uh, disability. You have mild retardation, you have moderate retardation, and you have severe retardation. Those are still actual clinical terms, whether you like them or not. Now, and the irony of this is also in psychology, we learned that no matter how you try to you make a euphemism of insulting someone for their mental shortcomings, that word will always become an insult because 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 of the very nature of what you're insulting in the first place, which is someone's mental shortcoming. So whether you call it the R word out, outside of a clinical usage for which it was intended, every one of those words will become slurs. Like previous like terms that now are, you know, seen as insults were not always once one. Things like stupid, dumb, and deaf were used to be words used by experts. But again, those words have been misused because any sort of word referring to some sort of mental shortcoming is always going to be used as an insult against other people, which would make that word a slur or pejorative. This also ties into the psychology of language, but in any case, Jobs his name a single lie from Kamala. I already did, so we're not gonna play that game. I've mentioned it twice already. So chat room, if y'all wanna let him know what I previously said when I said Kamala was lying and they didn't fact check her, please do so, because I'm not gonna sit there and play games with someone who heard what I said earlier or willfully ignored it. Jeffrey says, no, they didn't. You are correct. He said they were aggravators, not moderators. Again, I completely agree. Like, saying, like, if they were going to say, okay, well, we're going to fact check in this debate, that's fine, but have it on both sides. And they just didn't do it on both sides. Whether you agreed with what they said or not, we can still agree that it was biased if we're honest. Realistic says, I can name a lie off the top of my head. Of course you didn't know, though. Jeffrey says, pull the tab off your cushion. What, this? We, Flutterby says, who won the debate? Neither. Exactly, Flutterby. That's what I've been saying from the very beginning. Because, well, you were here since the beginning, Flutterby. No one else was. I've literally said that from the beginning. I didn't see a clear winner in the debate. That was my that's been my whole point. And I was who curious who thought that there was a winner and why. And like I said, I think everyone who sees there being a clear winner is being partisan. Because I just didn't see a clear winner in this debate. I don't like the way the moderators ran the debate. Plus, I think they should start allowing third party candidates to be out there with the Democrat and Republican frontrunners. Like, how many people know Jill Stein is running for the Green Party? How many people know about the candidate running for the American Socialism Party, or the person or the candidate for the Conservative Party? And no, that's not the Republicans. That's a separate party called the Conservative Party. How many people know the Independents still out there? Cornel West is still running, but he's not being allowed on ballots, which doesn't make sense to me. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is still on the ballots, even though he's already ended his campaign, but he's still on ballots. But they won't allow Cornel West to be on ballots. Trikaith Namikaze says Trump. Jeffrey says Trumpy. Jobs says memorial for the soldiers. Trump literally said he doesn't respect POWs. He said that about one person. He didn't. He was referring to what's his name at the time. That's because he didn't like that person. What's the guy, the senator who died? Forgot his name. Um, Damn, I can't remember his name. Sorry. But yeah, he said that about him as being a POW, but that's because Trump personally didn't like him. Trump, like most people, will insult you if he doesn't like you, and he didn't like that person. So I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it was. I'm a veteran, so uh, I'm not agreeing with what he said about that guy. But I get that he just had personal animosity towards him. That's why he said it. But ask most military people, by and large, most military support Trump. By and large, most military, both the lower enlisted and the brass, support Trump. If you don't believe me, you can check polls done of military personnel. Um, Jeffrey says Trump will be trumped. Cars, cars must be tasty. I think you mean cats. Cats must be tasty. I doubt it. Cool G says Trump. Jeffrey says meow, chow, cat food. Dogs taste like beef. So does monkey. Ew. I don't know what you've been eating in the past, Jeffrey. Now, dogs, I can see possibly eating that because people have eaten dogs in many countries, especially in places where they lack like beef or chicken or whatever for whatever reasons. Monkey, absolutely not. To me, that's close to being cannibal eating monkey. Like, and I think in Africa they refer to it as bush meat, right? I'm not eating monkey. Cats, I cannot see that being tasty. It seemed like something that muscular would be stringy. The more muscular the animal, I think the less tasty that meat would be. I could not fathom eating a cat. I'd rather literally just boil grass and season it. He says, and Canadian geese. Now, geese, yes, geese I can get with. Canadian geese, absolutely. I can see eating the Canadian geese. And I saw pictures of immigrants walking with geese that they hunted. I can see that. I don't have a problem with that. But you should not be hunting people's pets or animals that are kept as pets because if it's outside, it's probably still someone's pet, even though it's outside, or it may have used to been a pet. Either way, hands off pets, whatever the animals may be. Jeffrey says dog meat is rough, rough. I mean rough. I get it. I get it. Funny. Well, so I know in certain places in Asia they breed the dogs they do eat as dog meat are bred just for eating. Like they're not kept as pets. So I think that's different. Where those animals are, those dogs are kept just for meat, like bred for meat. They don't keep them as pets. But still, I'm not eating them. I'm not eating dog. I'm not eating horse. Not it's just not gonna it's not gonna happen for me. Jobs is when a few people do a thing, you cannot claim that all of the people in that area do that as he did. Yeah, again, if you were in this live earlier, I clearly said that he, he wasn't being completely factual about it. My point is that it was and it is happening there. But yes, they but they just completely like saying that was false itself because it was and it is happening there to the degree in which he stated it, and that they were dogs and that it was Haitians doing it. That stuff was false. But that there are immigrants out there who are hunting and eating wildlife as well as pets is happening. Like we have police camera footage. So we have news outlets showing pictures of people walking around with the wildlife that they hunted. So that's happened. But you're right that he was being inaccurate about it and they called him out on it. But again, the way they called him out on it was to make it as if that wasn't happening at all, and it is. Just like they downplayed the whole Venezuelan thing in Colorado and other parts of the country with these violent immigrants who came here illegally. They downplayed that as well, and he was right on that. Jeffrey says you can openly hunt pigeon in the city and eat it. Yeah, like I said, you can openly hunt deer here right now this is bow and arrow season here in Maryland, particularly in Baltimore County and several other counties, because the deer are now considered a public nuisance. So they're allowing people to bow and arrow hunt. Like I can go in my backyard right now if I have a bow and arrow, and if a deer come through, I can legally shoot them and turn them into food or whatever. The only reason I don't is because I don't like venison. I don't. I was sorry. I know some people are gonna say I love venison. I hate venison. It's just way too gamey. And I know some people will say, well, it depends on how you cook it and yada, yada, yada. I get it. I still don't like venison. Jeffrey says, what kind of pet do you have? I'm hungry. That's weird. Jeffrey says, Zimmerman, unless rappers ate cat. I'm from the islands. Small chat right now. Um, yeah, if you want to subscribe, feel free to subscribe. Flutterby says anyone popping by should stay sub and like. Don't like the subject. Don't worry, there are different ones you'll love. Yeah, I talk on a lot of different stuff. I'm talking about the debates because these just happened, and I didn't get the chance to do this yesterday. Otherwise, I probably would have moved on to a different subject. Jeffrey says I'm from Wakanda, Illinois. And guys, before y'all make fun of him, there actually is a Wakanda, Illinois. There actually is. I've actually I've actually looked that up because while working in a call center, I think I did see that, and I'm like, wait, what? So that actually is a real place, guys. Jobs says, why is it all the Trump supporters still unvaxxed if your memory is correct? I'm a Trump supporter and I'm vaxxed. I got 3 shots. And probably once I get my vaccinations for this fall, I'll probably get the newest one as well as my flu shot as well. You're you're stereotyping. And the reason why some of them chose to be unvaxxed again is because some of them don't agree with vaccines. And that happens on the left and the right, job. There's actually a lot. There's up until this whole political, like, there's a lot of anti-vaxxers both on the left and the right. And people, if people are honest, they'll agree with me on this. There are a lot of people on the left who disagree with vaccine because a lot of them believe in that stupid stuff like it's going to cause autism or other stuff like that. Or and you have a lot of liberals who are of a higher socioeconomic status level who actually pride themselves on not getting their children vaccinated. There's a lot of Karens out there. These these little middle-aged, pretty wealthy liberal white women in America who don't believe in vaccinating their children, and they are on the left. They are Democratic voting, liberal leaning folks. So let's not pretend that the non-vaxxers are only on the right. When it came to this particular thing with COVID-19, you saw people more on the right against it. And part of that was because of how the information was being doled out by the government. Again, when the vaccine first came out, Trump was still in office, and it was mostly people on the left, the Democratic folks, who were saying they weren't going to take it because they didn't trust Trump. And then the pendulum swung, and then there was people on the right saying they weren't going to take it because they didn't trust Biden. This is why I'm not partisan. Um, Jeffrey says Trump has small hands, thus, yeah, okay, if you say so. He says, I'm from Wakanda. Okay. Again, guys, he's being facetious because there's no, anyway, that is an actual town in Illinois. Job says, the delay you have is needless and frustrating. Then leave my fucking live stream. No one said you had to stay here, Job. The delay is because I'm actually answering people in real time as I'm answering you at this very moment in time. If you don't want me to answer your comments nor anyone else's, then yeah, I'll run through all the comments pretty quickly. Hold up, I'm checking the. Oh, I don't know who that is, but again, you leave unless you're not gonna get any priority over anyone else in my chat room unless you're dropping the super chat. Period. Full stop. So if you think I'm gonna skip everyone else's comments just to go to yours so that I can be up in time to your comments, you're mistaken. I don't care if you find it frustrating. You can go to another place. Go watch TV. Go watch another live stream. I'm not here to cater to you. You're not dropping a super chat. I don't give a fuck. Flutterby says he'll catch up with the comments eventually. He won't miss your comments by skipping to the newest. Only time I even skip a comment is if it's something really stupid or trolly. Job says you did list Kamala lies after I asked you to in the chat, but then you got to my comment well after. I do appreciate you listing some of her lies. It was thorough and genuine. Yeah, like I said, both of them were lying. And I was saying, as politicians do, both were lying. My problem wasn't just that they were lying, that she was lying, or that he was lying. My problem was that they were only fact checking his lies and not hers. That was my problem, and I stated that from the very beginning of my live stream, and I know I was going to have to repeat that again because no one was in here when I said it except for Flutterby. Job says he didn't respect just one POW. He said I like soldiers who weren't captured. Yes, but he was specifically referring to John McCain. He was that was a I completely agree. Again, I didn't agree with him saying that. I totally disagree with him saying that, and I still disagree with him saying that because in my view, John McCain was a hero, and that's who I can remember his name earlier. But I'm talking about Senator John McCain. He said that as a personal jab against John McCain because he doesn't like John McCain. However, I still consider John McCain a military hero. Here's the thing: when he was captured, he was a captain, and they were actually going to let him go. He refused to be let go while the people who served under him were going to be POWs. So he stayed with his team as their captain, as a prisoner of war. That's what leaders do. That's what heroes do. And so yeah, I completely disagree with Trump on that. And I can admit that because again, I'm not biased. I'm a Trump supporter, but I'm not biased. So I can completely say I disagree with Trump on that. McCain stayed as a POW, as a captain, even after his captors offered him offered offered release to him because he wanted to stay with the people who served under him as their leader. I find that brave, and that's what heroes do. Kelly 2121 says most meats taste like chicken, beef, or pork. No, they don't. That is a myth. And actually, so I don't know if you've heard of the old show that used to come on Al Kelly, Mythbusters, but they actually put that to the test. They took a whole bunch of different wild game meats and put them to the test of whether these all tasted. Now, like, of course, there's going to be a level of subjectivity with this, right? Because how can you say to one person that this tastes like this, and to another person this doesn't taste like this when it's a matter of subjectivity with taste? However, they did their best with what is a very subjective uh, study, and have shown that yes, these most of these wild game meats do not taste just like chicken. I think it was specifically chicken though. I can't say beef or pork, but I think it was specifically chicken. They might have also compared it to beef or pork, but I know it was definitely chicken. To which they compared all these wild game meats, and almost none of them tasted anything like chicken. The only thing that tastes like chicken to me is pheasant. I've had pheasant. Pheasant is good. Pheasant, and it makes sense that pheasant and chicken taste the same because chicken basically evolved from a pheasant-like bird. So it makes sense they would taste the same. But pheasant and chicken taste the same. I have not tasted one other thing that supposedly tastes like chicken. Flevy says, "Don't think I've ever tried venison." I'm surprised they don't have venison in the UK. I would think they would fix like venison there, like maybe like hunting elk and stuff like that. Flubby says my chat keeps changing to top messages, and I need to change to all messages. Anyone else having that problem? No, I can. Actually, you reminded me. I need to switch mine to all messages too. I'm gonna change my chat filter to all messages. There we go. And let me get back to. So Job says you said he was correct about the Venezuelan gang thing, but he was actually completely incorrect. No, he wasn't. Footage we have shows absolutely no evidence of any gang affiliation, let alone Venezuelan. Okay, so they just made the very name of that gang itself was just made up, right? The video footage of them robbing people, robbing stores in Aurora, Colorado is made up. The video footage showing them forcing people out of their apartments at gunpoint, that was made up, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was made up. No, it wasn't. What happened is that the law enforcement there has been embarrassed about what's going on. It's happening. Nope. Like, we live in the 21st century where everything can be captured on camera. And when there's camera footage showing these things, I'm going to believe it. I'm not going to listen to someone who has a vested interest in claiming that illegal immigration isn't a problem, as opposed to closed caption footage showing these very atrocities happening. It's happening. And there's been trouble with illegal immigrants all over the country, particularly in places like Chicago and New York, and here in Maryland, where they've unalived a woman, SA'd a woman, where they're getting all these food and cash benefits on EBT. And before people say, oh, that's not true either, luckily a Walmart clerk actually took a screenshot of the receipt, showed this person had $10,000 in their EBT food card and 5,000 in cash benefits on their EBT card. So I'm not going to believe people who have a vested interest in not in saying that there's not a problem. And if it's not a problem, then why are they now saying that? Why are they now supporting Trump's um, immigration policies at the border? If it's not a problem, you wouldn't support something that you find completely radical unless you felt it justified to do so. Kobe Curtis says we have to change that way of thinking at job. I've heard from many of my Hispanic friends that they don't condone illegal immigration and that certain Spanish groups are mad that they're being blamed. Right, and that's another thing. Thank you for saying that, Kobe. Is that the people who are the most upset about this illegal immigration have been other Latinos, and I can understand why. If you came here the right way, if you brought yourself here, your family here, through the right way, you had to struggle to come here through all the proper channels just to see people coming here illegally and being given fucking benefits for doing so. For you, not only are these people coming here by breaking the law, but they're given benefits for doing so. If I was Latino, I'd be really pissed about it too. Like, are you? I'd be like, are you shitting me? Like, I came here the hard way, you know, by applying for a visa, whatever, get my green card, then eventually being able to bring my family here, getting citizenship, and these motherfuckers just come here illegally and get benefits. I would be pissed. If I was Latino, I would be pissed. Just saying. Josh says, okay, fair enough. On the delay being because you're reading all the responses. Yeah, I mean, people always blame me for that. And I'm like, do you want me not to read the responses? Or you just want me to read your responses? That's not fair. Like I said, if someone, I'll prioritize super chat donations all the time. But otherwise, I'm equal to every person unless it's a troll. If it's a troll, then I'm just going to ignore what they say. But if the person is given like a you know a fair response, I'll engage with it. Kobe says also it's not just North America, it's Latin America and South America. Together we make the Americas. Fair, fair enough. I didn't make that distinction here, but that's fair. I mean, North America is you know Canada, U.S., Mexico, and parts of the Caribbean, Bahamas, and Central America. Those all make up North America. So we need to distinguish between geographical regions and cultural regions. Latin America is a cultural region. Central America, I mean, sorry, we need to distinguish between continents and just geographical regions, right? So something like Central America is a geographical region, where North America itself is a continent, which includes Central America and the Caribbean. Latin America is a geographic region as well as a cultural region, right? But Latin America is is part of two continents, South America and North America. So yeah, I mean, it's always good to be pedantic, right? That way there's less confusion. So mind you, I've never said that the people coming across the border are mostly Mexicans. If anything, stats have shown that there's been reverse migration of Mexicans within the past uh, couple of decades. More of them have been returning with their education and their skill set to Mexico as opposed to the amount of those coming here, especially illegally. The majority of people coming across the border aren't the Mexicans. They're Latinos coming from other parts from Central and South America, um, people coming from the Caribbean, and people coming from Asia and even Europe. Those are all the people coming across the border, and it's a problem because we also have bad actors in the world who are sending their operatives disguised as Latino immigrants across the border, and some of them and some of these bad actors in the world are paying the narco traffickers to get their people across the border. Again, I'm not going to say too much of that because I'm not trying to shoot above my pay grade here, but that is happening. That is a problem. That is a matter of national security. And if you don't believe me, you can talk with people whom you know might work in the Defense Department, might work in cybersecurity, um, might work in law enforcement in, in the Southwest. Is an issue. Kobe says, we as a people, we need to work on this. GJC says, afternoon, what's up? He says, Harris won. I just, again, I don't see a clear winner, GJC. I didn't see a clear winner in the debate Tuesday. Flutterby says, I won. Yes, Flutterby, you won. You always win. GJC says, I'm not a Harris fan, but she owned it. LOL. Her experience as a prosecutor showed its value. Did it though? I don't see it. Only thing she did as a prosecutor was never mind. But Job says at Kobe, it is meaningless what ethnicity doesn't like immigration when people who have built their life here are being deported because they lost the lottery system we have for visa status. Um, Job also says on the Venezuelan thing, you say I'm not going to listen to someone that has vested interest in saying immigration isn't a problem. Yes, I'm saying if you have a vested interest in saying that something isn't a problem, you are less, your opinions are going to be less taken less seriously because you have a vested interest in saying that something isn't the case, even if it actually is the case. That is that is critical thinking there. Like if someone if a business is putting out a product which is harming people, but they have a vested interest in saying that it's not, I'm not going to take what they say as seriously. So people who, you know, 50 years ago said smoking wasn't really a problem. Like 60 years ago saying smoking isn't really a problem. They have a vest because they, you know, part of the tobacco industry. They have a vested interest in saying smoking isn't causing cancer, but it is. So I'm going to listen to the people. I'm going to listen to the people more seriously who are saying no, this is the actual problem. I'm not going to listen to clever legal arguments that go against empirical evidence. Um, Job says, but you believe the people who have a vested interest in you believing that immigration is a problem. No, I'm believing what I'm seeing as footage. The people saying that it's not a problem aren't aren't disproving those claims by showing their own evidence. They're just saying, well, take it upon us as authority figures that this isn't really happening. That's not how this works. I I I live under the aegis of evidence and reason. When there's evidence and reason to support claims, that's where I'm going. To merely um, deny or doubt those claims without giving evidence, you know, if someone is providing evidence for something and then you say, well, this is not true, then the burden of proof is on you to say why it's not true, other than just digging in your heels and saying because I'm the authority on this. Okay, you're the authority on this, then give us reason and evidence to disconfirm the evidence that they've given us. And they're not doing that. They're just saying, well, we're the administration and we're not saying that. They're just making these things up. But we can see it on the news. Jobs says many I know have come here legally through the proper channels, serve critical roles in large companies, yet must regularly apply for visa renewal, knowing that it's up to chance. Visa overstay is the number one contributor to illegal immigration statistic. Last I checked, That is true. So visa overstay is that is definitely true. Visa overstay is the number one contributor to the illegal immigration statistic. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is people coming here that don't belong here in the first place. They didn't come here on visas. Some may have, but some of these people did not come here on visas. They came across the border like, and again, this was literally on 2020 last year. We literally saw a bunch of Chinese people coming across the border, and border patrol wasn't allowed to arrest them. They were told to stand down. These people were literally coming across the border and had people giving them Ubers to get to their destinations after they got across the border. This was on 2020. If you want to tell me that 2020 is biased, 2020 is a left-leaning news program on ABC News. It's not on Fox, okay? It's not on Newsmax. It's not on Blaze TV. It's not on Daily Wire. It's on ABC. 2020 showed these Chinese people coming in mass across the border with um, with CBP there watching them. CBP officers sitting there watching, and were told to stand down. They weren't allowed to arrest them or apprehend them in any way. And they were coming across this one particular man's border on his ranch, on his home property. He once came out and with his gun, and he was arrested for it on his own property for brandishing a gun. Meanwhile, he said he could do nothing to stop them. They told him he could not stop them, and they have burned down his trees as firewood. So yes, I'm going to believe what I see as evidence coming from your political side. This wasn't coming from the right. This was coming from a left-leaning news program 2020. When you see a bunch of military age people coming across the border, that is a national security issue. It should it shouldn't take going into the military, into intelligence, or into law enforcement to realize it is a national security issue to see military age people coming across the border unfettered. That is a problem. And again, a lot of these Latinos who come here illegally did not overstay their visa. They came across the border illegally. They didn't come here on a visa stay. They may not be the majority, because yes, again, as we both agree, visa overstay is the number one contributor to illegal migration. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about dangerous people. Those Venezuelan gang members did not come here legally. Maybe some of them came here seeking asylum, but Venezuela basically pulled a Cuba, just like Cuba did back in the 70s when they released all their fucking prison members out of jail and flooded Miami, which is the whole beginning of Scarface, by the way, because that actually did happen. Not Scarface. Scarface didn't actually happen, but the fact that Cuba actually, another socialist country, by the way, released all its prisons and and let them try to seek immigration status here in America. Venezuela has just done the same thing. Another socialist country. It was intentional. And then giving all these little fuckos benefits. So you're gonna deny benefits to very people who've been living in these inner city slums for the past past 100 years, but instantly give these illegal migrants access to housing. Let's not forget that Gavin Newsom just killed the bill that would have allowed zero down payments for illegal migrants to get housing in California, one of the most coveted housing markets in the country. And he said he killed the bill because he thought it wasn't in the interest of California. Let's be honest, he killed the bill because they put it on Front Street for the rest of the nation to see what they were planning on doing, and there was a public outrage against it. That's what really happened. That's why he killed the bill. So yes, the people coming here who are the violent folks, they didn't come here on a visa overstay. They came here illegally. It's just like those MS-13s. And I dare you say there's not MS-13s here. There's both MS-13 and MS-15 coming out of El Salvador and places like that. They are all over here in Maryland. All over here in Maryland. GJC says Trump's idea of evidence is everyone knows, quote unquote, and really smart people told me, quote unquote. They all say, wow, LOL, he's so annoying to listen to. I get that. But again, we don't have to go by Trump. We have footage coming from law enforcement. We have footage coming from news outlets. Again, like I said, 2020 did it, so they're not right leaning. We have stuff coming from vloggers. We've seen footage of these Venezuelans robbing stores in the Colorado. We've seen them holding people at gunpoint in that apartment complex. That really happened. That actually happened. I would be completely pissed off living there and someone's telling me that this didn't actually happen to me. This is just like people trying to deny what happened with that school shooting back when Obama was in office. Just because they didn't like Obama, they try to claim that mass shooting at that school didn't happen. And there's still deniers for that. Job says the evidence against the Venezuelan gang misinfo is that most of the footage shown as evidence is actually footage of a biker gangs recorded months and sometimes years ago. Okay, so if that's true, then that would be disconfirming evidence. I'll grant you that. However, I have not heard that it was a biker gang recorded months and sometimes years ago. If that is true, then point taken. Again, I'm fair. If that is the case, I'll take that. But it could be both. Sometimes sometimes something will actually happen, right? But people will take info or footage and stuff like that from other incidents that look similar and mix it with that other event. That happens as well. My point is something actually happened there with these Venezuelan gangs. However, I can concede that there might be people actually putting out misinformation to exaggerate what's going on. Regard Party Services, neither of them won the debate. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. He said, I haven't seen Trump slip up as bad as he did with baseless claims as he did in the debate in a while, but that doesn't mean Harris won. She also was not impressive. That's fair. I think that's fair. Job says, yeah, the evidence is pretty simply that when you source each video used as evidence by Fox and sources afterwards, some left leaning that try to stay quote unquote unbiased, it is clear that they're unrelated. I don't know about that. He says not only unrelated but solved case footage released years ago. I agree, though Harris was not impressive. So, are you going to say that that stuff that 2020 filmed last year wasn't happening? That the Chinese coming across the border that wasn't really happening on 2020? That didn't happen either, right? That was footage taken from something else that 2020 did decide to not to use, even though they have no dog in this hunt. So we're going to claim that that's not a problem. That military age Chinese people coming across the border completely unfettered wasn't a problem. That there are no cases of Latino gangs coming here rampantly like MS-13, MS-15, Latin lords, the Latin kings. the the Honduran mafia, the Mexican narco traffickers, Colombian cartels, this Venezuelan gang, Trey, whatever they're called. Um, Rugar says there was TikTok tutorials in Chinese showing you how to cross the border step by step. Yep, it was. They put it on TikTok, and like I said, they actually they had. I was laughing, to be honest. I wasn't even mad. I was just laughing because I was so shocked when I saw these people just coming across the border with smiles on their face and getting Uber rides to wherever they were going. I'm like, word? And this is why TikTok needs to be shut down. It's fucking Chinese spyware. It's fucking spyware tech. Glad when they shut that shit down this winter. I think December is there. I think unless they've got some, unless they've won an appeal, they will be shut down by December because they refuse to give the TikTok an American, to give it to an American company to run, an American I guess an American tech company. So if they don't let the the American, well, the TikTok that runs in America over to an American company, then they will be forced to shut down this December. Good. Guys, let me check what time it is. I'm sorry. Gotta make sure I don't want to miss my Muay Thai training. I love Muay Thai. I missed my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu class yesterday, but I don't care. Was not I was not excited about wrestling with dudes in the, in the evening. Like, you have to be a particular person to really love Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I just There's no time where I'm gonna be like all happy, like, yeah, I'm ready for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. That shit's gay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh man. Plus, I had to buy rash guards. I didn't even have rash guards for the class because it was a no gi class. I didn't even want to take a no gi class. I don't like no gi Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Like I said, I think the people who want to do their no gi Brazilian Jiu Jitsu are just, you know what I want to say. I just said it, but I'm not going to say it again. Anyway, Rugar says, I feel as though they are making an example of the TikTok thing. Not that they should continue running or anything, but there are definitely plenty of other corporations running. Well, the other one they should take down is WeChat. And again, Trump wanted to take down both TikTok and WeChat back when he was in office for the same reasons. Because now people are trying to say, well, the Biden administration just, this is where this is where Team Blue is divided here, right? So there are progressives and far left leaning people who are mad that they're taking down TikTok because they think the Biden administration is only doing that because TikTok is showing info that goes against the whole free Palestine thing for people. Um, I mean, they go this. I'm sorry, that supports the free Palestine stuff. So that's why Biden administration wants to take it down. Even if that is the case, it is a national security issue, and there's no one who's in IT or cybersecurity will disagree on that. That they are extremely problematic and should not be allowed to run here. For one, any any large company in China must have a member of the CCP sitting on its board. Not only that, the the company that developed TikTok, they also made the Chinese version called Douyin, because in China they don't allow TikTok either. So they had their own version called Douyin. The company behind that, I think ByteDance, is connected with the People's Liberation Army. It is very problematic. And so is WeChat. Like they both need not to be run allowed to be used here. Um, I don't miss grown men, Jeffrey. Are you? I'm not sure if you're American or not, but don't don't ask a straight man if he misses you, because the answer is always going to be a patent no. I don't miss any grown man. No. In any case, guys. So yeah. So again, like I said, I don't see any clear winners here in this debate, and we can go back and forth of well, who lied more, and who like the point is, I don't, the debate wasn't that fruitful. I think it would have been more fruitful if they allowed third party candidates in these debates. Allowing these third party candidates would force, for one, it would make it more exciting, and two, it would put their feet to the fire, because now you got people who have opinions that dissent against both the left and the right. This is why I so enjoyed the debates back in 1992 between Clinton, Bush, and Ross Perot when I was a kid. Rugar says, I need to word this carefully with YouTube filters, but they operate off strongly inappropriate content, either featuring or targeted to children. Yeah, he said, which is another strong reason to shut them down. Yeah, and they're dumbing down our society. Like there literally is now in um, psychological research the TikTok effect, which is showing that like people, these younger folks who spend all their day scrolling through these social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and so forth, are shortening attention span. Meanwhile, China has put severe limits on how long children can be online, because they know of the deleterious effects of kids spending all day on social media platforms or playing video games. So they've put severe limits on how long these kids can be using these things, because they're trying to build they're trying to build a nation, not just let people feel good about themselves. And again, and back to the, as far as the Latino immigration crisis, again, we can do armchair stats about it, but it is a problem. No matter what the actual numbers are showing for it, it is a problem. It's a problem. We know it's happening. We know that they are committing crimes and getting away with it because of their nebulous status here in America. We know that they are receiving benefits, both food and cash benefits and housing priority, and so it's a problem. How much is that happening? I can't say. I can't quantify it, because I'm not going to make up fuzzy stats just to support my views. I refuse to do that. What I will say is it is actually happening, and that's a problem. Um, Rugar says, remember when China would use slave prison labor to farm World of Warcraft materials that would then sell online and keep all the profits? I'll say this: there's still slave labor going on in those parts of the world. I'm not going to say the particular. I'm not going to say specific countries, but there's a lot of slave labor going on in those parts of the world. I don't want to say because it offends the YouTube censors to say places like the Shenyang province and the Uyghurs, but whatever. Um, and places in the Middle East and North Africa and in continental Africa. I mean, and in sorry, sub-Saharan Africa as well, in parts of Southeast Asia and parts of Eastern Europe and parts of Latin America. Jobs says maybe it's not a problem though. They commit crimes at a lower rate because they fear deportation. No, they don't. When you're when you're just outright unaliving people, you don't have no fear. When you go on TikTok bragging about you can do whatever you want and telling people, yeah, go take over these people's houses because of squatters' rights, they can't put you out. Doesn't sound like you're that much scared of deportation. He got deported eventually, and which was well deserved, by the way. But yeah, when you're a criminal, you don't care about the. Hold on. So they get less benefits than they pay for bias. Yeah, okay. You can keep saying them little Biden Harris lies if you want. Deport all of them motherfuckers. Deport all of them. Rugar says there's slave labor in the U.S. with undocumented immigrants they just don't talk about. Oh yeah, there is so-called white slavery going on in part every part of the world right now. But by and large, it's happening in specific parts of the world in heavy concentration. He said they do actually commit less crimes than born citizens. We're talking about illegal immigrants coming here, committing crimes. Not all of them are committing crimes. That's a fact. But the with the ones who are, why even put up with it at all? Why put up with it at all? Yes, some are, some aren't. But why put up with it at all if they're breaking our immigration laws to be here, and then we're rewarding them with benefits like housing and cash benefits? Jackie says, Jackie Simmons says now they over here eating our doggone animals. Right. Like I don't care if they're gonna like if you want to hunt some geese or squirrels or whatever. All right, but don't eat people's pets, man. That's crazy. Eating somebody's pet, and they gonna meet the right one. Like I said, they doing it in these sanctuary cities. They're not doing it in these places like Texas and places like that because they know Texans Texans tote that still, and if they shoot one of them, police be like, "Hey, thanks for doing our job for us." You're not getting away with squatters' rights in Texas. You're not shooting a man's animal in Texas. I don't even like Texas, but hey, I'll give credit where credit is due. Jobs is per capita, meaning each illegal immigrant is far. I know what per capita means. It means it's just Latin for per person. Like it says, meaning each illegal immigrant is far less likely to commit a crime than each natural born citizen. It doesn't matter. The point is, they're not even supposed to be here in the first place. So that's the point you're missing. I'm supposed to put up with someone because they're a lot. I'm supposed to put up with people who've come here illegally just because they're going to commit less crime? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. That that argument doesn't that argument doesn't work. That's not convincing to say, well, they're already coming here. They're already breaking the law to get here. But once they get here, most of them aren't committing violent offenses, so we should leave them alone. That doesn't make sense. Jackie says perhaps, but an increase in population is automatically an increase in crime. Yeah, as the population rises, there would be an increased level in crime, just as a matter of yeah. But anyway, Jackie says I agree. Job says not quote unquote not all misrepresents the truth. There's actually almost none. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. It's like again, you're playing with words, and I don't do the double speak. I don't do the new speak. I speak plainly, clearly, and concisely. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna play a game where we use words to get around fuzzy stats. It is enough of a problem. It is enough of a problem nationwide. It is enough of a problem nationwide that it shouldn't be allowed. And again, that argument that well, most of them once they get here don't commit crimes because they are fearing deportation doesn't mean we should allow them to do so. And also the firms and the different firms that hire these people to use as exploitative labor, they need to be they need to be handled as well. Stop allowing these people to use these folks as cheap labor, in which which encourages them to keep coming. Jackie says it was 3-1 and Trump still stood tall. He says exactly, yep. He said just lies. Rudiger says a restaurant they shut down used legal immigrants for slavery. They kept them in a basement where they lived, and if they asked for pay, they threatened to report them for a crime and get them deported. Well, like I said, I'm sure there's companies that exploit these illegal immigrants, which I completely and I disagree with that. Like you have people, some of them come over and work farmland. They have some of them working in like slaughterhouses. Of course, we all know the day laborers that we'll see like outside of a like a hardware store or something like that. Early in the morning or Walmart, whatever. But yeah, Jackie says they blame everything on Trump, even the border. Right, and he hasn't been in office for 3.5 years. So. Job says, I mean, when you dehumanize people for a harmless crime, you don't smoke weed, brother. No, I don't smoke weed. I'm an athlete. I don't smoke. I don't drink. And that's not dehumanizing them. Since when is unaliving someone a harmless crime? Since when is robbing someone a harmless crime? Since when is SAing a woman a harmless crime? Since when is staying in someone's house without their approval a harmless crime? Since when is kicking people out of their apartments a harmless crime? Since when is selling drugs a harmless crime? Like, you're really making tortured reasoning here. Like, these are really tortured arguments. Now you went from, well, most of them don't commit crime, to now they're committing harmless crimes. You're moving the goalposts, and the math isn't mathing. So Trump supports private prisons, forcing their prisoners to work for no pay. Yeah, because that's in the amendment, unfortunately, and that needs to be changed. Slavery was outlawed except in terms of um, prison. And Trump, and blaming Trump for that. Private prisons have existed before Trump was in office. So again, like Jackie says, stop trying to blame everything on him that existed before him. There's been a lot of Democrats that have supported private prisons too, but we don't blame them for the existence of them. He, Jackie says, I've been asleep for 55 years until Trump. um, yeah, like Jackie, I was on Team Blue up until like literally 2 years ago. I was Team Blue all the way up until 2 years ago. I voted for Biden. I voted for Hillary. Um, I voted for well, I supported Obama. I didn't actually vote at that time, but I supported him. I voted for John Kerry. I didn't vote for Al Gore because I was actually for um, the guy they said spoiled the vote for him. I forgot, but he ran for the Green Party at the time. So I've been Team Blue from the beginning. I haven't been always a Democrat, but I've been Team Blue, and yeah, I'm just tired of the I'm tired of the political fallacies that they use. Rugar says, Jackie, you sound like a lady on Facebook who collects crystals and has 33 cents. That's not cool. Jackie says, you mean those trumped up charges? Jackie says, I don't like cats, but I do like dogs. Yeah, even if you don't like cats nor dogs, yeah, I think we can still agree that people shouldn't be eating someone's pets, right? I think that's something we can agree on, whether we actually like the animals or not. Someone shouldn't be eating pet animals. Like, imagine someone coming to India and eating their cows. That wouldn't be cool at all, right? They don't see them as pets, but they see them as sacred animals. So to have someone just coming off and killing animals they consider sacred would be very troublesome to them. Jobs says most of the people being deported are innocent people that just work to support their family and their country away from the cartels. You notice? No, I don't notice because you're just claiming this. There's what evidence to back that up that these are just quote unquote innocent people. Jackie says, "Yep." Job says the harmless crime is illegal immigration. I meant okay. Well, you had to be more clear on that because, and again, illegal immigration isn't what what you may consider harmless in the short term is harmful in the long term because it we shouldn't have to go to microeconomics to understand that there are limited resources and people are going to have to scrounge for those limited resources. And when you're giving those limited resources to people who've come here illegally, as opposed to the people who've been living here for generations and have needed these resources in these underdeveloped cities and neighborhoods across the country, that they're giving better benefits to some fucking illegal immigrant than to a veteran. Yes, That's not a harmless crime. It's causing real problems here in America in the long term. Even if in the short term you find it harmless, just allow people here. This isn't the America of the 1800s, which was still a place being developed. This is a fully developed nation, and now there are limited resources. When you have people in the ghettos, they can barely get a handout. When you have elderly people like some of my aunts, uncles, or cousins who are elderly and disabled, and they see their food stamps reduced to like $45 a month. 45. What the fuck you gonna do with $45 a month on food stamps? Meanwhile, these assholes are getting $10,000 on their food stamps, which they shouldn't even be able to get anyway because they're illegal immigrants. So why the fuck are they even getting any sort of food stamp privileges? On top of that, getting $10,000, I don't consider that a harmless crime. It may not be a violent crime, but it's not a harmless crime. We need to disentangle harmless from non-violent. Just because something is non-violent doesn't mean it's harmless. Jackie says that's what's up. Job says leftist policy is non-privatized prisons right now, though. Flutterby says a crime is still a crime, a lie is still a lie. Exactly. Thank you, Flutterby. Jackie says no, he didn't. Sorry. What I witnessed was a man struggling to save this country. Um, and Jackie says this lady could barely contain her laughter. Wait, I just Jackie, are you a lady? I For some reason I thought you was a guy. So although I never gendered you, but for I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking Jackie is a guy because I'm thinking of I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of people like Jackie Robinson and Jackie Gleason. So I thought Jackie was. I thought you were a guy, but sorry about that. Job says at Flutterby, if a crime is a crime and a lie is a lie, surely you understand that Trump committed a felony 50 plus times and lies about once every minute. So Jackie says, so let's count up Kamala's lies. She's been to the border. She says lies. Yeah. Rudiger says, uh, one guy in my neighborhood got deported. He killed two people over a comic book. See? Jackie says, the border is secure. That's a lie. Job says, they contribute more to taxes than we return to them via public services. That's not microecon. It is microeconomics. You have a certain amount of people that will compete for limited resources within the given place. That is microeconomics. And saying they contribute more, how the fuck do they contribute more to taxes than we will return to them when they don't? They're not. So are they paying income taxes? Are they filing income taxes? No. California wants to give them a zero down payment on housing until Gavin Newsom killed the bill out of embarrassment for because everyone was mad that California was going to give a bunch of illegal immigrants 0% down on housing. 0% down on housing in the most coveted housing market in the country. Meanwhile, there are people who are in the upper 15% of income earners in this country that still have who still find difficulty in buying a house in California. I'm not trying to hear it. Jackie says she didn't answer any direct questions, none at all. She smirked the full 90 minutes. They will walk all over us. Facts. Yeah. Said, I'm a woman, and hell no, I don't want a woman running this country. It's a choo choo train. Job added says sales tax. Sales, so everyone pays sales tax just by virtue of buying something. That does so so what? So what? They're not paying income tax. They're not paying property tax. They're definitely not paying capital gains tax. For you leftists out there who want there to be an increase in capital gains taxes. Rugar says that's not microeconomics, that's the Hunger Games. Well, welcome to microecon. Jackie says a vote for Kamala is a vote for communism. Where were you when Trump was in office? Like I said, I remember when I didn't even vote for Trump. Again, I tell this to people all the time because I'm honest. I voted for Biden, but I still remember the economy was going swimmingly well under Trump up until the pandemic hit. I had more money in my pocket to travel and to buy the little necessities that I need. All those things have gone up, which is why now when I travel, I don't plan on coming back. Flutterby says a vote for either of them is a bad vote, to be honest. Yeah, and I get that too. That's why some people aren't going to even vote. Some people are just going to stay on the couch this election. There's going to be I guarantee there's going to be a low voter turnout this election. It's going to be a low voter turnout. There was a higher one back in 2020 just because people thought it was an existential issue, which it really wasn't, but I get it because that's how it was sold to everyone. Um, it's going to be a low voter turnout this time around. Plus, I don't like how they did the third party candidates. I don't like how they did the third party candidates. Cornel West isn't on the ballot here in Maryland, not in Virginia, just because they said he didn't get enough. He hasn't gotten enough support for his campaign. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. is still on the ballot, even though he's already ended his campaign. So why is he still on the ballot? Even though he's ended his campaign, you can still vote for him, but you can't vote for Cornel West, who's still a viable candidate right now. Jobs says yes, but sales tax is a lot when you get no public services. They are, but that's not true. They are getting public services. They're getting, they're being, they're being given housing. Um, it was so much so in because they've been bussed out to sanctuary cities because the places in which they arrive, like Texas and stuff, said no, you guys aren't staying here. Since all these places want to support you guys, we're going to send you to one of them sanctuary cities. How about that? And the people are like, all right. So they send these people to these sanctuary cities, and these sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago have given them hella benefits. Hella benefits. I don't know since when you don't consider food stamps not a public service. That definitely is a freaking public service. Jobs says besides the newly proposed services, which still cost less than their total contribution via sales tax. So you keep moving the goalposts. Now you're saying they offer them no public services. Now you're saying the newly proposed services, which still cost less than their total contribution. That's what I'm saying. You're not being genuine here. You keep moving the goalposts. That's Mr. says Flutterby, how happy are you with your current government? Like genuinely curious. There's been a lot of turmoil. The Flutterby lives in Britain, guys, so curious on that one. Rugar says, how many informed voters under 25 do you think are going to vote this year? I expect all time lows. Yeah, it's going to be low because here's the thing: most voters under 25 tend tend to not vote that often because they are more informed than these older voters, but they feel dismayed with the fact that their vote doesn't count more than the person who's uninformed. This is why there have been people in political philosophy um, who've talked about there being a different way in which we do democracy, or or rather do an epistocracy where it's the government by the knowing that people who are informed voters can somehow demonstrate that so that they have a weighted vote. That would drive up voter turnout a lot if people could who are informed voters and can actually prove that their informed voters will have a weighted vote as opposed to uninformed voters who would just have a regular vote. Or they could just start doing more ranked choice voting. That's something that can happen without them changing the current system that much is ranked choice voting and stop gerrymandering districts, which both sides do. Flutterby says it needed the change. I'm happy at the moment. They've pulled the plug on a lot of bad previous government moves, but time will tell, to be honest. Job says, Rudiger, you think it'll be an all-time low when Republicans put out a manifesto that includes banning all contraceptives? That's a good. That's a fair question. I still think it's going to be a low voter turnout. I agree with Rudiger. I think some people are just. I think a lot of people are just dissatisfied with the choices on both sides. And this is why we need third party candidates. Miss Nito says Rudiger um, here um, enough in where she lives. God, she doesn't live in the U.S. Um, the young votes went up majorly. Informed, I don't know about that, but usually when there's a shift in society and chaos, more people are getting involved in politics. She goes on to say to Flutterby, okay, that's interesting to hear from you. Thanks for answering. Job says, thank you for supporting ranked choice voting. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know who you think I am. I'm not, people think just because I'm a Trump supporter that I'm somehow unreasonable. I'm not. I support ranked choice voting. Actually, there have been people here um, who are against ranked choice voting who are Democrats because they were saying they would support more Republicans being elected, and I'm like, that's not a bad thing because ranked choice voting more effectively represents people's choices. If you give ranked choice voting, you're giving a fairer choice to voters. So whoever comes out on top is probably the person who should have been elected. Um, Rugar says job on that issue. I believe voting for other political elections is far more impactful and important than the presidential election. That also is true too. Like the presidential election is an electoral vote, which means the popular vote doesn't count. Well, it does count, but not directly. So in 48 of the 50 states, not including the territories, um, it's winner takes all with the electoral vote. So whoever gets the popular vote gets all the electoral votes in in all but in all but two states. Those states being, I believe, Maine and Nevada. I always get those the other one confused. I know one is Maine, but in almost all the states, it's an electoral vote. Although the electoral vote, all the electoral votes goes to whoever wants the popular vote in that state. Um, I find that problematic, number one, but also um, it means the presidential election isn't the most important election. The most important election are your local elections. Those are the things that's actually going to affect your day to day life. How much, you know, how much taxes you pay, where those taxes, where your taxpayer money actually goes, um, law enforcement, the rules, the local laws, and all like the local and midterm elections are way more important than presidential elections. But people put so much emphasis on a presidential election, which is kind of unfounded. The only good thing about the presidential election is that hopefully people vote all the way down the ticket. Okay, the so when people do go to the ballot or mail in their ballots or whatever, hopefully they fill out the whole thing and they research. the candidates online because I think most states, I don't know, I think most states do this. I know Maryland does, where you can look up the information on all the people, all the people or policy um, initiatives on the ballot in your state. Like you can go to the state website and they'll have that there. But if you're gonna participate in presidential elections, make sure you vote all the way down the ballot because that down ballot is more important than the person you're choosing for president because you may not even have a choice in that. I live in a blue state. Maryland is a blue state, so I know even though I'm voting for Trump, it's really not gonna matter because Harris is gonna win Maryland. I already know this, but that doesn't mean I still shouldn't vote whom I want to vote for because that's the same reason why people always say you shouldn't vote third party because it's just a wasted vote. No, it's not. If that's the person you want to vote for, then vote for the person whom you want to vote for. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, if you're not voting according to the demographics of your state, then it can still be looked at as a wasted vote. If you live in a red state and you just decide to vote Harris, that vote isn't going anywhere either. So if you live in a blue state and you vote Trump, that vote isn't going anywhere. But the moral of that story isn't to say then you just shouldn't vote or that you should only vote for the person who's already going to win by the current political demographic in that state. It means you should uh, vote your vote your interests and that you should pay more attention to the down ballot where those things count more. So Job says Rudiger has a good point though with the power just given by the Supreme Court. He said the president has a lot more direct influence on your life than ever before. Eh, what? Because the recent decision to give him part immunity. I mean, the presidents have always, if unless you're talking about a different court case, but the presidents have always enjoyed partial immunity. It's just that they outright stated where it is, like what that immunity involves. That wasn't something that has been previously done in previous court cases. But as I've said in numerous videos and live streams, every president has been a criminal. He doesn't have full immunity. He has partial immunity. That's not true. Partial immunity. They spelled out clearly where he has immunity, where he doesn't, and where it's qualified. He has full immunity in some places, no immunity in other places, and qualified immunity in others. But he doesn't have just complete immunity. Uh, Job says it has to be doing working hours and be within his commanding power. Uh, yeah, more or less. But how does that affect the average person? That really doesn't. Is the average person someone who's um, going to be charged with possible terrorism? Job says it has to be doing work. I'm sorry, you just said that. Job says so he can command any soldier as commander in chief to end anyone. That's not actually true. That's not actually true. He said he can assign any executive order regardless of consequences. Again, how does this affect the average American? How does this affect the average American? And that's not exactly true. But I'm on my phone, so I can't go down and dig up what the actual wording is because I'm while I'm live streaming, I'm not able to do so. But that's not how it was worded. And also, where was this outrage when Bush was doing it? Where was this outrage when Obama was doing it? He was calling. He had a full-on secret drone war throughout the Middle East and North Africa that killed hundreds of civilians. It killed about 3,400 or so enemy combatants and about 300 or so civilians. When he was still in office, I remember watching the news early in the morning, and there was some Yemeni kid, some kid in Yemen, saying he didn't like looking up at the skies because he was scared that one day I, there might be a drone attack. Simply saying it is true doesn't prove it. But Jobs says he can sign any order to ban contraceptives and unions. Again, you're saying he as if Trump is the only one. This applies to all presidents. You're acting like they signed this just for Trump. This will apply to any and all presidents, any and all American presidents. And again, for the most part, is basically just clarifying what has already been true for presidents anyway. They've been doing this anyway. Now it's just they're putting in, they're just putting into writing what is actually, they're spelling out constitutionally what they can actually do before, where before it was just understood. Now it's actually been put in writing. He said those were bad too. Obama should be tried for the drone strikes 100%, but now it's impossible to do so because of the defining of immunity. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is something that's going to involve all the American presidency, not just Trump. And as I've stated before, I don't know if you've been in my streams before. Every American president has been a criminal, and almost all of them have committed war crimes. Um, Jobs says he stacked the Supreme Court with incompetent people, specifically so they show him and the Republican Party loyalty. So they both do that. Every president gets in with the intention of stacking the Supreme Court with their own appointees. They stopped Obama from doing so because they said, "Oh, well, you're about to leave your term, your office. You're not, you shouldn't be allowed to um, appoint someone." So they didn't allow him to appoint Merrick Garland. So then Biden then appointed Merrick Garland the head of the what was it, Department of Justice, or was something like that. Rudiger says, I saw a Canadian YouTuber who was buying drones for the Russian millionaires. He donated 100,000 to Russia to buy drones. Jobs says Obama and Biden both offered middle ground judges, and y'all blocked the vote. Who's y'all? I don't have that authority. That's above my pay grade. I don't know who you're referring to as y'all. Besides that, again, I was Team Blue up until 2022, so we need to keep that clear. Is it Russian? Oh, Russian military. Sorry, Russian military. Not Russian millionaires. Russian military. Gotcha. And they have appointed a lot of other judge positions, um, both Obama and Biden. I believe Kentanji was one of his appointees on the lower. lower level. They've all appointed a bunch of federal judges. Not for nothing, I'm digging this lo-fi music. Let me see something here. Hold on, guys. All right, but yeah, I'm about to go soon. So, um, what do you think on nitrous epidemic? I don't know. I think you or someone else asked me about that a few days ago. I really don't have any strong views on that. I'm more. I don't see nitrous here in Baltimore. I'm more worried about people with fentanyl. I don't. I don't know where there's a nitrous epidemic. I just see people using fentanyl around here. Fentanyl and other opioids. Um, Job says Republicans put up the horrible judges for just them after we offered good judges that were center leaning. No, you consider them center leaning. They didn't. What you consider center leaning, they don't consider center leaning. It's just ridiculous to act like both parties stack the court for themselves because they both do. I don't know why you don't see that. They both stack the parties for their own interests. They both do that. Again, this is why I'm nonpartisan. This is why I'm independent because I can see the bullshit played by both sides all the time. Every side wants to call foul on the other team for what they themselves do. This is why most people who cover politics as part of their careers as reporters and journalists, this is why most of them are politically apathetic because they see bullshit done on both sides all the time. All the time. He said they did. They knew they were centered for whom they may have been considered centered by those on the left, but they probably were not considered centered for those on the right. And again, both sides will block the other's appointees just as a matter of gamemanship. If they can block your appointees, they will do it. If you can block their appointees, you'll do it because it's gamemanship. This is how politics is played. They both do those things. Even if both sides put up a fair opponent, if Democrats put up some appointees, yes, people on the right want to accuse them um, of being liberals and of having liberal bias and being people who will try to um, recontextualize issues based on their leanings. And then when the right is in office and they put up someone who they consider to the center, Democrats do the same thing and say, "Oh, these people are conservatively biased and they're only going to do stuff that fits their narrative." Both sides do this thing. I don't see how you don't see that. We've seen the pendulum switch back and forth from Democrats and Republicans in office so many times that I've seen both sides play the same dumbass games. Jobs says, look at the judges the Dems offer and tell me they're leftists. Yes, they were leftists. And on top of that, I didn't see them doing anything for black men, which is another thing I care about. If they're not doing anything for black men, then I don't care how liberal they are personally. Fuck Ketanji Brown. She got into office through cronyism. But Biden was like, oh, but Biden was like, well, I'm going to appoint a black female as Supreme Court justice. So what the fuck is that supposed to do? She's not helping black men. Matter of fact, on the Supreme Court, there's no left-leaning justice who isn't female now. And on top of that, they wanted better outcomes for the Supreme Court. Stop letting them have lifelong appointments. But that's a different topic. Regardless, you saw that convicted homeless offender who was living outside in elementary school in Seattle, who had a big sign saying free fentanyl, who was trading fentanyl for food with adults as well as kids. Now, I didn't hear about that. That sounds, but being to the Seattle, I wouldn't be surprised. Jobs says Democrats are considered right wing by world standards. Yeah, but again, that's not the point we're making. So we're not going by world standards. You're moving the goalposts. We're not talking about world standards. We're talking about here in America. Jobs says both Dems and Republicans are right wing. I should say. No, they're not. No, they're not. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge the where people where the politics are is always going to be relative to that nation, that 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 state or nation. To sit there and say, well, they're both right wing because over in Finland they're much more left leaning and progressive. That so what? That's moving the goalposts. That has nothing to do with the current topic of whether these candidates are considered center here in America, not whether they're in the center or in the left or right in Denmark or Finland or Norway. I don't care. That's irrelevant. Regardless of who's Ketanji Brown, the black female Supreme Court justice. Job says I agree they should have term limits, and I agree that I have no real point in mentioning that stuff. I just wanted to see if you knew. Yeah, it's just not relevant. Yes, Northwest Europe is much more far left leaning than we are here. Not necessarily a good thing. They do offer more social welfare to their citizenry, but at the cost of limited growth, like limited economic growth in those countries. So it's always there's always going to be trade-offs, and this is what people need to realize. Whether we're talking about politics or anything else, there are always trade-offs. There's no free lunch when it comes to politics and law and government and health and business. There's always trade-offs. The question is, what things are we willing to trade and which things we aren't. Um, Job says, I just want welfare, man. Well, it's being taken away because they're giving it to illegal immigrants. Like I said, I don't care what side of the fence you are on. If you see when you see someone give a screenshot of somewhere of a person's receipt at a store, and this person is coming here illegally, or say they've overstayed their welcome, and they're receiving like $10,000 in food benefits on the EBT with another 5,000 in cash benefits, and you know that your elderly aunt is only getting $45 a month on their food stamps, that's a problem. Now maybe you should say no one should have food stamps. Okay, we can make that discussion, but until then, while people are still receiving those benefits, then it should be equitable. Why is someone who isn't here legally able to get more benefits than an elderly disabled person here in America who's an actual citizen? Or how is someone able to get better housing opportunities than a veteran? That's is a problem. He said healthcare. I meant, oh, okay. Rugar says, did you see the video of Nigel Farage making a birthday message using a pro-Irish Republic Army slogan? Uh-uh. Uh, most of the news coverage I've seen has just been here in America. Only time I see stuff that doesn't deal with like current issues might be looking at like um, last news. What was it? Last week tonight. How does it go? You know what I'm talking. The show on HBO Max or Max now. Last week tonight with John Oliver. He's like the only one that will cover stuff that's not dealing with current issues because here it'll just be 24-hour election coverage, or it'll be talking about things with dealing with immigration and the economy, or pop cultural issues, but not really international things. So I haven't seen any of the stuff unless I'm looking at stuff online. Jobs says, what if that receipt was showing that the guy just never used his food stamps? It's not going to. It still wouldn't build up to 10,000. How? Tell me, how does that build up to 10,000 when they've every year they've brought down how much you can get? It's not going to add up. I'm sorry, I get you posing a hypothetical, but it's no way it's going to add up to $10,000 in food stamps and $5,000 in cash, especially before they just decide to cut you off because you aren't using your benefits. It will not build up to 10,000. Like I said, there's people who are disabled getting only $45 a month. How would that build up to $10,000? That's not going to happen. And that was just one person. So we know there's many of them because there's people in Walmart talking about how all these immigrants, and I'm not saying whether they're illegal or not, but a lot of these immigrants, come to places like Walmart, you know, and I'm guessing places like Target, Five Below, and they have plenty, and they have plenty of liquidity on their Snap cards, right? There's no way your money's gonna build up to $10,000, even after accruing for several years. No, $10,000 ain't no way. Besides, who's not going to use it? That's I find that very unlikely. Bobby says, "Bro, what did Trump do for this country?" Here we go. I've already mentioned this early in the chat, so if somebody in the chat want to tell him what I said earlier, and I really don't like when people write in all caps. It's like you're yelling. Like I don't like settle down. You type like a normal person. But I'll bite. I'll bite. So earlier, some of the things I've mentioned was the economy was the economy was doing comparatively well under the Trump administration up until the pandemic. Two, he kept he kept Taliban from attacking in Afghanistan for 18 months when he personally threatened one of the Taliban leaders with blowing up his house and family if there had been one terrorist attack in Afghanistan. Three, he gave money to historically black colleges and universities. Four, during the pandemic, the vaccine first came out under the Trump administration. Five, he instituted prison reform. Six, he didn't get us involved in any new wars while he was in office. So anyway, and I'm not going to repeat that again. Anyway, Rugar says this coming from someone who possibly could receive disability but doesn't. I'm tired of people who are perfectly capable of getting a job living off the system because they are too lazy or defiant. I agree. Flubby says, "Yo, stop shouting. Sub, like, get a membership, then you can shout." Exactly. She can shout. She's she sub. She liked. She has sent me. She has got a membership. So guys, if you see that star on someone's username, that means they are a member. She's subbed. She's also sent me coffee. She sent me money for coffee to buy me a coffee, and she's given other people memberships as well. So I think 8 members right now. Um, and she sent me a super sticker. So Flutterbee can shout all she wants. Rugar says Trump murdered Bernie Madoff. That's one thing. He did? Well, he well he did he did murder Bernie Madoff. His sentencing, Bernie was sentenced to like lifetime in prison. He wasn't given the death penalty. But if he died while in prison, that's just an effect of him serving a life term while he's an elderly man. Maybe he should have thought of that before he ran those Ponzi schemes. um, well, you heard that Avengers Assemble. I'm about to go, guys. But yeah, so I want to keep spinning my wheels on this. So Bobby finally showed up just to ask me the same question he asked me a few months ago. I mean, a few days ago, which is fair. So I answered it, even though I already answered it earlier in the stream. But I won't be doing it a third or fourth time. And I'm pretty sure people could come up with other things that he's done as well. Those are just the things I could come up with off on the top of my head without actually having to look it up. Fabi says, "Go have a coffee." I will. I'm wondering whether I should eat before I go to my training, and I want to run as well. So you seen the wonder pets that how our MF and countries should be run? Wait, what? Is it you seen the wonder pets? That's how. Yeah, you might need to rephrase that. I don't get what you're saying. You said, hmm, that's when I need a coffee, Miss Flutterby. The Wonder Pets was a kid show. You talking about that movie with the superhero pets? I'm not. Well, I haven't seen it. That sounds like something that was made for kids. So unless you, like I said, unless you're talking about the that superhero thing with the pets, and it was like Kevin Hart playing a dog. There was The Rock playing a dog, and some other people that came out a few years ago. Came out about like 2 years ago. I remember that movie, and it was like one of them became Batman's dog. The other one was The Rock played the dog, um, the Superman's pet. What's his name? Um, whatever Superman's dog is named. He said, "Oh, he said no, it's on Nickelodeon." Yeah, I'm definitely not watching Nickelodeon. I don't have kids, so I have no reason to watch Nickelodeon. I don't even watch regular TV anymore. Like, I just watch like when I'm not on YouTube, I'm watching Netflix or Disney Plus or Prime. or I get my stuff off of a BitTorrent site called Cinema HD. 20 years ago. Oh yeah, I definitely would have saw that. I would have been in still like in school at the time, like in college and grad school. So I would have been watching that. Job says you seem chill. I appreciate you engaging with the critical comments. I'll sub and come back. Next comment of mine will be a super chat. I appreciate it. And again, all my topics aren't political. Job, like this is just something I was addressing because of the debates, and I knew I had to cover that because I had covered a pre one before that, uh, uh, a pre-debate discussion. So I was gonna have a post-debate discussion because I was going to do like some people I saw who were trying to live stream the debate because I didn't want to get copyright strikes because of that. And even if it wasn't a copyrighted strike, there was no way I could both watch while streaming at the same time. I would have missed a lot of stuff, and then I had to end up watching it again. So I'm debating whether to show or hide this comment that Bobby Taylor left. He says, again in all caps, Trump destroyed the border bill and then blame the Democrats. F him and all you idiots. You're the idiot. You're the one who can't even make a grammatical comment. You putting things in all caps blue, with your little blue LGBTQ hearts. So I'm gonna just hide that because you're a schmuck. Yeah, actually, when you come to my stream job, you'll find me talking, engaging more on like stuff dealing with science, philosophy, and current events. The current events just happen to be handling right now is debate. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but again, I didn't get to it because I was busy. But we'll see. But hmm. But I'm getting ready to go, guys. 'Cause I think we've determined I think all like I said, I think all of us have, well, not all of us, but I would say everyone who's picked a side has already chosen who's won. I think people who are voting Harris have decided she's won the debate. People voting Trump has decided he's won the debate, and he even showed on his social media like all the different outlets that has shown that they thought that he done more superior in the debate. But at the end of the day, I found neither one the the clear victor in the debate. What I but what I did say is I found it problematic that the moderators decided to fact check, because if they were going to do so, they should have did for both sides. But their fact checking was only one sided, and that's problematic. So when is the next members only? I'm debating Flutterby because oh, that's another thing I do job. So I do like a lot of fitness and martial arts stuff too, as well as some travel stuff. I have some travel content me and my wife have done, more so her because I've most of the opportunities when I've traveled, I forgot to record stuff, but she does because I bought her a GoPro so she always records stuff. In any case, my next members only Flutterby. I'm thinking of doing another martial arts video, but I'm thinking of showing it on just defensive moves. I'm still determining that, but I am going to make a martial arts video for everyone. Miss Needle also said I should do like stuff like that as well, but I just don't have the editing skills and software that she does to make like a really nice tutorial. At least not yet. So the members only stuff is more like an intimate, like look at me just doing stuff in a rough cut. So I might show like some defensive moves, but I'll have to make it like basic again. I'm not gonna like give like overly complicated defensive moves people can use. So I might do that. That might be the go for this week, unless you have another suggestion for members only content. Did you still there, Flutter B? Like I said, did you have suggestion, or was that sound okay? Like I said, I might just show like some defensive martial arts moves that people can use, since most of the other video was mostly how to do attacks, and I mixed it up with some defensive stuff. But maybe this one will just be on defensive moves itself. That's what I might do that the next members only on. Like I said, unless you or someone else has other suggestions. And I think this will be it for politics for me this week, unless unless something else happens in the news where I find I should start making comments on. And I think Bobby Taylor needs to go touch grass. Like, you come on a live stream just to worry about what other people are thinking about Trump and stuff like that, and you gotta yell at people like, and yeah, but yeah, I'm about to go. Yeah, Bobby Taylor touched some grass. Um, Everyone else, thanks for contributing to the chat. Like I said, I'm giving it a few seconds in case someone else had a question or comment before I go. Afterwards, though, you can still leave it on the in the comment section of this video, because once I upload this, you can watch this in this entirety on replay, and you can leave comments. I do check those. Only and I usually respond to them. The only time I don't respond to the comments in the comment section, once this is uploaded, is because it's something that's very trolly or something like that. But if it's a if it's a decent comment, I will respond, even if it's just a like. But looks like, I mean, I have 5 people now, but looks like I guess that's a wrap. Cause I don't see anyone leaving any comment unless I'm missing something through my filter here. Flubby says, "Oh, now I get him." So Flubby says, "One is sounds good. You're already doing good stuff. To be honest, I think I have a delay." Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Bobby Taylor's still up to his hijinks. He says there are more women than men in this country. Have more women than men been waiting for this moment, and that piece of SHIT will lose. I'm done. FDT. Well, here's something you don't realize, Bobby. A lot of women voters actually prefer voting for men. This is why Hillary lost. For all that, it's the woman's time bullshit rhetoric. A lot of those women still ended up voting for Trump. That's why he won. What people say, what people will publicly avow, and what people actually do when they're in the privacy of the voting booth are two different things. People can say I'm all for such and such, but behind that voting booth, they might, because it's anonymous, they can vote for whom they want. So there being more women in this country does not mean that Kamala is going to win. If that was the case, then Hillary would have won. She actually won the popular vote. She still lost the electoral college vote because there was still not enough people in the swing states that voted for her that would have carried her over to win the electoral election. And at this point, I don't give a fuck what you think because you called everyone in the chat room idiots, and which is why I hid your previous comment. And you keep putting things in all capitals, so you're a moron. And I'm gonna just time you out. Flubby says, "Take care, have fun with training." I will, thank you. I might. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna film it, but if I do get a chance to film some of that training, I will. But all right, guys, I'm out. Peace.